All right, you sick fucks. Welcome back to the deep dive. You ever wake up and think, man, I really want to watch a shot-for-shot remake of a Hitchcock classic?
Well, someone did.
And that someone
That's right.
is Gus Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant.
The dude who directed Good Will Hunting
Yep.
went and remade Psycho in 1998.
In 1998.
So strap in
Yep.
while we dissect this cinematic clusterfuck and try to figure out what the hell
Oh, yeah.
went through his mind.
It's a head-scratcher for sure.
So let's cut the crap.
Let's cut the crap.
Why did Gus Van Sant think this was a good idea?
Well, turns out the man had a boner for Psycho since film school.
Since film school.
Yeah, he even made a parody commercial back then mimicking the shower scene.
So this was like a passion project.
Yeah.
Not some studio execs pushing for a quick buck.
Surprisingly, no. Universal was hesitant at first. I mean, remakes were already a dime a dozen, but a shot-for-shot remake? That's some next-level hubris.
Yeah.
But Van Sant, the sly dog, managed to sell it as a marketing scheme. A way to repackage a classic and rake in the dough from a new generation.
Clever bastard. Okay, but let's talk about the casting.
Okay.
Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates.
Yeah.
I mean, was he even trying?
Right. It's like casting a Rottweiler as a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But the casting process for Marion Crane is even wilder.
Okay.
You won't believe who was considered.
Hit me with it.
Get this. Nicole Kidman
Okay.
was initially on board,
All right.
but scheduling conflicts got in the way. Then they considered Drew Barrymore. Ultimately, the role went to Anne Hesh.
Okay, I kind of see that. But what about Julianne Moore as Leela Crane?
Right.
Did she even bother watching the original?
She did, but she actually made a conscious decision to play Leela way more aggressively than Vera Miles did in Hitchcock's version.
Really?
Yeah, it's like she wanted to inject some modern-day girl boss's energy into the character.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So they got their cast.
They got their cast.
But how the hell did they plan to copy Psycho shot for shot? Didn't they realize some things just wouldn't translate?
Yeah, they figured that out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Van Sant initially envisioned a pure shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
Same camera angles, everything.
Oh, wow.
But once they started filming, it became clear that some scenes just couldn't be replicated exactly. Hitchcock's magic is hard to duplicate, you know?
Right, so they started deviating from the original plan.
Yeah.
What kind of changes did they make?
Well, first off, they updated the setting to 1998.
Okay.
And remember that stolen cash Marion's running with?
Yeah.
They bumped it from $40,000 to $400,000
Okay.
to account for inflation. I guess even in a batshit crazy remake, they wanted to keep it somewhat believable.
Makes sense. But what about the actual content? Did they stick to the same creepy vibe as the original?
They didn't just stick to it, they cranked it up to 11.
Oh, yeah.
The violence, especially in the shower scene, is way more graphic. Blood splattered everywhere. You even see stab wounds on Marion's back.
Really?
Yeah, and get this.
Yeah.
They added a scene where Norman's jacking off while spying on Marion.
Holy shit. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bold choice.
Yeah.
Van Sant also threw in these weird, surreal images during the murder scenes, like flashes of memory or something.
Yeah.
It's definitely unsettling.
Okay, so they took some liberties.
Right.
Even though they were supposedly going for a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
Did anyone actually like this movie?
Oh, man. You're about to enter a world of pain.
What?
Critics absolutely ripped it to shreds. It bombed at the box office.
Really?
Only made $37 million worldwide on a $60 million budget.
Damn.
Roger Ebert, the big dog himself, hated it, called it pointless, and said that genius resides between the shots. Ouch.
Damn. Sounds like a critical massacre.
It was.
But hold on, wasn't there some chatter about it being an artistic experiment?
Right?
Like maybe it was so bad it was good?
Yeah, some critics tried to find a silver lining. They argued that Van Sant was pushing the boundaries of filmmaking, intentionally challenging the idea of originality.
Okay.
Even Joseph Stefano, the screenwriter for the original Psycho, chimed in. He thought Anne Heche's performance made Marion a completely different character, despite having the same lines.
Interesting. So maybe it wasn't a complete train wreck after all.
It's debatable. Van Sant himself admitted later that replicating a film perfectly is basically impossible. But get this. Hitchcock's daughter, Pat, actually liked it. She said her dad would have been flattered by the remake.
Wow. Talk about a mixed bag of opinions.
It is.
So is this remake a failure,
right.
a masterpiece, or just plain weird?
It's all of the above, really.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't even heard the wildest part yet.
Oh, no.
You got to hear about this thing called psychos.
Hold on, there's more. What fresh hell is this?
So in 2014, Steven Soderbergh,
Okay.
the Ocean's 11 guy, drops this bizarre mashup of both Psycho films.
Really?
Yeah, he called it Psychos.
A mashup? What the fuck does that even mean?
He took scenes from both the 1960 and 1998 versions and stitched them together. The whole thing's in black and white except for the shower scene from the remake. It's an experience, let's just say that. So this Psychos thing, it's not just some random scene-swapping bullshit.
Okay.
Soderbergh actually did something pretty fucking clever with it.
Okay.
He kept the 1998 shower scene in color while the rest of the film is in black and white.
Really?
It's jarring, disturbing, and it makes you think.
Okay, my brain's trying to process this.
Right.
Is he highlighting the remake's more explicit violence?
Right.
Is he making some kind of statement about voyeurism in both films?
Yeah.
Because let's be real.
Yeah.
Both versions have that creepy peeping Tom vibe going on.
Exactly, and that's what makes Psycho so fascinating.
All right.
Soderbergh never explained his intentions, which just adds to the mystique.
Yeah.
Some critics think it's a brilliant deconstruction of both films, while others dismiss it as a pretentious gimmick.
Right.
But you gotta admit, it's a ballsy move to take two iconic films and turn them into something completely new and unexpected.
All right, you've piqued my curiosity, but let's back up a sec.
Okay.
We're talking about this mashup like it's some kind of a lost masterpiece.
Right.
But the remake itself was a box office bomb.
Oh, yeah. It tanked hard.
Yeah.
$60 million budget barely scraped past $37 million worldwide.
Ouch.
That's gotta hurt even for a big studio like Universal.
So how did they try to spin this turd? Did they blame the audience for not being sophisticated enough to appreciate Van Sant's genius?
They tried to play it off as an homage to Hitchcock, a way to introduce his work to a new generation.
Right.
But let's be real, they were just trying to save face.
Classic Hollywood bullshit.
It is.
But what about Van Sant?
Yeah.
Did this whole debacle tarnish his reputation?
It's hard to say he's always been a bit of an enigma, a director who bounces between mainstream success and experimental projects.
Right.
Some argue that Psycho was a necessary failure, a learning experience that pushed him further as an artist.
Yeah, but did he ever actually admit that he fucked up?
Well, in later interviews, he acknowledged that replicating a film perfectly is impossible.
Okay.
He even called the remake a conceptual art project, whatever the hell that means.
Sounds like a load of crap to me.
Right.
But hey, at least he tried something different, right?
Mm.
Most remakes just end up as cheap knockoffs.
True, and you gotta give him props for assembling a solid cast.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn might have been a questionable choice for Norman Bates,
Yeah.
but Anne Hesh and Julianne Moore brought their A-game.
Speaking of Hesh, didn't she get nominated for a Razzie for this movie?
Yeah, for Worst Actress.
Wow.
But here's the kicker.
What?
She was also nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Actress for the same role.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a polarizing performance.
So is this movie actually worth watching, or should we just stick to the original?
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
If you're expecting a masterpiece, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Right.
But if you're curious about film history and want to see a truly bizarre experiment,
Yeah.
it might be worth checking out.
Okay, fine. I'll bite. But if I end up hating it, I'm blaming you.
Fair enough, but before you make up your mind,
Yeah.
remember we were talking about how the remake bombed at the box office?
Yeah. A financial disaster studio is probably pissed off they greenlit that project.
Well, here's the twist.
Yeah.
It actually did make a profit eventually.
What? How is that even possible?
Home video sales.
Really?
The VHS and DVD releases ended up selling like hotcakes, especially among horror fans who were curious about the controversy.
So it was a financial flop that turned into a cult classic on home video.
Exactly.
Talk about a redemption arc.
It just goes to show you even the most reviled movies can find an audience somewhere.
All right, let's get back to this Psychos mashup.
Okay.
Where can I even watch this thing?
Right.
It's not like it's playing at the local multiplex.
It's a bit of a hidden gem. Soderbergh initially released it on his website, Extension 765, back in 2014.
Really?
No explanation, no fanfare, just boom. There it is.
Okay.
It's like he dropped a cinematic bomb and then walked away.
Sounds like his style.
Right.
So is this Psychos mashup a must-see for film fans? Or is it just a weird side project for hardcore cinephiles?
I'd say it's essential viewing for anyone who's fascinated by the art of filmmaking and wants to see a master director messing around with the boundaries of cinema.
All right, you've convinced me I'm adding Psychos to my watch list. But let's be real. After all this talk about Psycho,
Yeah.
I'm going to need a stiff drink and a therapy session.
Well, before we wrap up, there's one more layer to this whole Psycho onion.
Oh, go.
Remember how Van Sant updated the stolen money to $400,000?
Yeah, to match inflation practical, even if the movie itself was batshit.
Right, but it goes beyond just numbers.
Okay.
It kind of reflects the whole point of the movie,
Lay it on me, Professor. What's the deep meaning behind inflated cash?
Well, think about it. Marion's driven by greed,
Yeah.
right? That desperate grab for a better life, even if it means screwing people over.
Classic noir setup.
Uh-huh.
The femme fatale, the stolen loot.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Exactly. But by updating the money, Van Sant's not just adjusting for inflation.
Yeah.
He's highlighting how that greed has grown, too. It's like a commentary on our times, how everything's got to be bigger, faster, more.
Yeah, that's actually pretty insightful.
Right.
So even in a shot-for-shot remake, there's room for social commentary.
Always, art's never a vacuum. It reflects the world it's made in, and even a seemingly pointless remake can spark some interesting thoughts.
Okay, fine. You've convinced me this whole Psycho thing is more layered than I gave it credit for.
It's a trip, man. From Hitchcock's genius to Van Sant's balls-out experiment to Soderbergh's mind-bending mashup. It's a reminder that even with the most familiar stories, there's always something new to discover.
Or in this case, something old to rediscover in a totally fucked up way. But hey, at least it gave us something to talk about, right?
Absolutely, and who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire some of our listeners to check out these movies and form their own opinions.
Yeah, good luck with that. Just don't come crying to us when the shower scene gives you nightmares.
Until next time, folks, stay curious, stay critical, and try not to get too psycho out there.
And keep the goddamn shower curtain closed.
Words to live by. See you on the next deep dive.
So we talked about how Van Sant updated that stolen cash to 400 grand to, match inflation.
Yeah.
But it's not just some, random detail.
Yeah.
It actually kind of, plays into the film's themes in a pretty clever way.
Yeah.
All right, break it down for me. How the hell does inflated cash connect to the deeper meaning of Psycho?
Think about Marion Crane's motivation. She's driven by pure greed. That desperate desire for a better life, even if it means screwing people over.
Yeah, classic femme fatale move, right?
Yeah.
The stolen loot, the escape plan, it's all part of the noir formula.
Exactly, but by updating the amount to $400,000, Van Sant isn't just adjusting for inflation.
Right.
He's actually amplifying that sense of greed, making it even more excessive and in your face.
So he's commenting on how our desires have inflated along with the economy.
Exactly.
It's like a statement on consumerism and the relentless pursuit.
Exactly.
More.
Exactly. It's a subtle but effective way to update the story for a modern audience and make a point about how societal values have shifted.
Damn.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. So even in a shot-for-shot remake, there's room for social commentary and a fresh perspective.
Absolutely. It shows that even seemingly pointless remakes can have hidden layers and thought-provoking elements if you dig deep enough.
Okay, I'm officially mind-blown. This whole deep dive has been a wild ride.
Yeah.
From Hitchcock's masterpiece to Van Sant's batshit remake to Soderbergh's mind-bending mashup.
It just goes to show that even the most familiar stories can surprise you. There's always something new to discover, a fresh perspective to consider, even in a film that's been analyzed and debated for decades.
And sometimes rediscovering something old can be just as fucked up and fascinating as experiencing something new.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, I encourage you to check out these films, even the controversial ones, and form your own opinions. You might be surprised by what you find.
Yeah, just be prepared for some disturbing imagery.
Oh, yeah.
And existential questions about the nature of greed, desire, and cinematic insanity. We've warned you.
Until next time, folks, stay curious, stay critical, and for God's sakes, keep those shower curtains closed.
And if you see Vince Vaughn lurking around your motel, run like hell.
Words to live by. See you on the next deep dive.